Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle, educator, healer, speaker, guide, and fierce advocate for your yes. I help sensitive and successful men and women find, reclaim, and live from their full embodied yes. Through empowering you to understand your energetic hygiene, establish healthy boundaries, and heal your nervous system, you'll be able to create your yes-filled life and move through your days with more freedom, more ease, and more joy. You'll hear inspiring stories of people who found their full-bodied yes, thought leaders who pursued their own dreams and are living life on their terms, and learn new ways to find the courage, joy, ease, and freedom to more fully step into your yes-filled life. Say no to the good so you can say yes to the great. Join me on this journey to discover your yes-filled life. Whether you're looking to break free from the golden handcuffs, start a new business, find your dream job, or simply live with more intention and mindfulness, I've got you covered. Let's explore the possibilities together and make your dreams a reality. Ready? Let's do this. Let's get you to your yes-filled life. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you are a repeat listener, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I revealed a couple of episodes ago that I'm going to be traveling full time, and I promised that I would keep you updated on the podcast. And so listen through this episode. At the end of the episode, I'm going to give you an update and let you know where my first stop is going to be. The Yes to Me challenge is back for June. Now, if you've been looking for a way to feel confident about expressing your needs, wants, desires, if you've been looking for a way to supercharge your intuition, for you to actually be able to say yes to the things that you deeply desire, this challenge is for you. You can register. It's free. It's a free day, 3-day free challenge. Ooh, that was a mouthful at brendawinkle.com/yes to me, YESTOME. And I'm going to put that link in the show notes. It's going to be on June 18th, 19th, and 21. And yes, there's a replay. Now I'm so excited to introduce you to this week's guest. Megan Sandve is a mentor at Pause Breathwork, and she was my mentor during my somatic coaching certification. And she has the best, most unique, most loving ways of looking at things. So I really wanted you to hear a little bit from her about embodiment and how to let your inner wisdom be your guide. So, Megan Sandve is a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator and somatic facilitator. She is the founder of Release Breathwork Community, and her mission is to empower you to stop looking outside of yourself for the answers and let your inner wisdom be your guide. Let's get to know Megan Sandve.
Mm.
Hi, Megan.
Hi. It's so good to be here, Brenda. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation, and I can't wait for people to get to hear from you and for my audience to meet you. And I'm just really honored to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. You are somebody that just instantly I'm drawn to your energy and your space. And I'm curious and I want to know more. And I feel like we just can sit and chat and converse and be in the space. I'm excited to give other people a lens of that space.
Oh, that's very kind of you. So, for our listeners that don't know Megan, I met Megan when I joined the Pause Facilitator training, and she was a mentor in that program and then became my mentor in the somatic coaching program. So, Megan, I've given a little bit away, but would you mind just telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and the work that you do in the world?
Yeah. As Brenda mentioned, I do get to do what I think is the coolest job of all time, the coolest space of all time, and really get to guide and mentor others in their journey as they explore what it feels like to find breath work. And that might look in their own personal practice, that might look for them as a facilitator or sharing it with other people, as well as somatic coaching. So again, getting to hold people in their own somatic experiencing, their body-based connection into a healing space, and then open that up and support others as they step into the space for themselves to share the work with others. And it's in whatever way I get to play in these mediums, it is such a gift. And whatever I have done in this life or other lives that have led me to this space, I am just so unbelievably grateful, because I can't imagine. Every once in a while, I think about doing something else, or think about kind of going back into the world of where my degree and what my path was supposed to be. I'm like, oh, that just feels so constricting. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll stay here.
Oh, I relate to that.
Ah,
I absolutely relate to that. I've been at 3 education conferences in the past like 6 months. And there I was really good at what I did. And so I kind of think, well, maybe I'll just go like see if I can be a part of that world in some way. And every time I leave, I come back feeling so grateful to be doing the work that I'm doing and also to support them in what they're doing. But I'm so grateful. So
yeah.
grateful. One of the things that struck me about you right away was how you can be so centered and so grounded in what you believe and hold such gorgeous space for everyone to have their own experiences.
Hmm.
It's really magical. Is that something that just has come naturally to you, or is it something that you developed?
Oh, I don't know that I've ever been asked that question. Oh, first of all, thank you for the reflection. I do think it's something that I've developed, and I do think that for as long as I can go back and remember, there's just always been this seed and this planting of I can stand really strongly in what feels good for me, what is an integrity for me, what my beliefs are, and they most definitely have shifted and modulated as I have grown and shifted and modulated. And you can do whatever feels good to you as long as you're not doing harm to me or anyone else. And I
Mhm,
really feel that. And for somebody to press their thoughts, their way rules, basically, for somebody to press their rules on me is just, I'm an instant rebellion. And I can't do it. I don't like it. And I don't want to do that to somebody else.
mhm,
I don't know someone else's journey. I don't know the layers that have led them to this space. So how can I possibly think and know, one, that I know better than anybody else, and two, that what I know and have learned is going to fit for somebody else.
mhm. I love that, and I relate to that so deeply. Like, I am all in if we're playing as a team and we're, like, working towards this common goal, and the minute that shifts into a directive, oh, like, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
out. I'm not good at I'm not good at that. And in my teaching career, I had a few people try to micromanage me, and I am not my best self when that when that happens.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'll take the feedback. I'll take the reflections. I'll get curious about what you're doing. But yeah, please don't force me into doing things that I have not decided I want to do on my own time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. And so when you're talking about other people, not knowing other people's experiences, one of the things that we talked about in my graduation call that has stuck with me is we were talking about pouring from an empty cup.
Mhm.
And you said something that shifted my perspective. And I'll just say what it is and then we can talk more about it. We were talking about pouring from an empty cup and how that is sometimes what we hear. It's the party line that we hear about self care in our society. And you said, I don't think that's true. I think people pour from an empty cup all the time. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hands up in the air if it's a safe space for you to do so. If you can, it's such a great line and I understand it and it's so true. And I do think we can I think we are pouring from empty cups more times than not, most of us
Mhm,
in our
mhm,
world and how we operate. I mean, have you ever seen a mom that's running ragged, that's up and with, or a parent of any kind that's up with disrupted sleep and baby needs this and you're here doing this and you have to show you're just doing it and you don't
mhm,
really, yes, there's choice, but also in that there's not really choice in that. You're in a survival state and it's an amazing ability of our nervous system. to allow us to survive. And when we don't understand the impact that that can have, then we're just drained and depleted and pouring from empty cups, squeezing any life force out, anything that we have to give and to serve or to be present for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was my story. I mean, I was trying to fill my cup with like massages or a pedicure or something. And it wasn't that it wasn't filling my cup, but it wasn't restoring me. And I
Then
think,
it feels like something else I have to do. When I'm really in that space and I'm searching for those things to fill me, and they're not restoring me, but they're the things that somebody told me would be great. It's like, shoot, now I got to go get a pedicure at some, like, where am I going to get a pedicure at this point in time? I don't even have time for this, but let's run around and cram it in between 500 other things so I can get it becomes just another chore
mhm.
instead of something that is, and maybe that's just myself, right? It became such a chore to even do those things because I just had nothing left in my tank.
Oh, same. Where I was stressed out by my pedicure.
Yes. How long is this gonna take? Hurry up.
Mhm.
Can I read? Can I work? Can I do 100 other things while I'm sitting here in this space? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I work with a lot of people who are in this space, who are fitting everything in. They're back to back scheduling, whether it's kids in 5 sports or the mom who has kids out of the house and yet she's still hustling in that same way because she's going to college visit days and now tending to the husband and aging parents and all the things. And one of the things that I talk about with people that I'm learning is people don't know what their body is saying to them to communicate overwhelm. Can we talk a little bit about what some of the signs and symptoms of overwhelm or this pouring from an empty cup might feel like?
Yeah. Everybody, of course, is gonna be different in that. In my personal experience and what I witness when I hold others that are in the space, it shows up a lot in a mood, in agitation, in frustration, in resentment. When I was working in a clinical setting, it really showed up in a space for me that I was just so jaded. I just went from caring so much about everybody to just not caring at all. I had no capacity to show up with empathy or compassion because I had nothing
Mhm,
left. I had
mhm,
nothing left. So for me personally, that's one of the biggest indicators is when I start to notice that I'm showing up in a space without empathy or compassion. I know that that's not my soul self. I know that that's not truthful. And it's a call for me to come and examine. And that's a emotional space. On a physical side, I think it shows up a lot with insomnia. I think it can show up a lot in just fatigue. It can show up a lot in an anxiety space. It
mhm.
will show up for you in a space that is going to get your attention the most.
Yeah, whether that's back pain or indigestion or even gastrointestinal issues that mean you can't leave
Yes.
the house.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that twist, right? Okay, so we will keep you at home thinking perhaps maybe that will be your invitation to slow down and that we still figure out a way how to skirt around all of that as well.
Oh, yeah.
With love
Yeah.
and compassion, right? We can say it, we can laugh about it. And for you that are in it, this is still a space that I come to. This is not a space that's like, oh my gosh, I have this mastered. I'm so absolutely not. It's still a lesson that revolves around again. Now the lesson comes with a little bit more clarity and that time of noticing has been compressed the more that I've given time and space and curiosity to the signs and symptoms of my body.
Oh, me too. Me too. I don't have it completely worked out. In fact, I think that's why I teach this stuff is
Of
because I need to
course.
keep coming back to it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. The mirrors, right? Keep it fresh. If I tell somebody else enough and enough and enough, then it's the light bulb moment for me of, okay, yes, are we soaking in any of this, the wisdom? Are we soaking in any of these words or comments?
Right. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that. And it's so, I just want our listeners to hear this, that this is something you can continue to hone and get better. It's a skill, which means you can learn it and improve it.
Yes. Yes. And it's going to vary depending on what season of your life you're in. There
Mhm.
will be some seasons where that is a lot more accessible to you, and there will be other seasons in life where it will be very challenging to you.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And everything in between gets to be there as well.
So I find for myself that I create what I call disruptors. And my disruptors are things that disrupt a negative pattern. And
Mm.
so I've been honing this for about the last 17 years. And I started with a fishbowl and paper on my dining room counter because I couldn't think of what I even liked at one point in my life. I couldn't remember what I liked. If I wanted to go feel better, I was like, I don't remember what I like. So I put things that I liked on a calm day when I had capacity to think on little slips of paper. And then I would draw from my fishbowl and then I would go do that thing, whether it was blow bubbles or play sidewalk chalk because I had a small kid at that time, or whether it was go to the park or go to the river, whatever it was. Um, what do you do for yourself to scaffold coming back to what you know is true for you?
Mm. I want to say one thing before I go into that. Notice that Brenda said, I have been honing this for 17 years. So to further back her point of this is a skill that you come back to and refine and grow and expand in, 17 years of a practice in this, right? It's not,
Mm-hmm.
I did it and now I have it and now I've mastered it, which I think is really vital. And naming that has shifted and changed. When I
Yeah.
had a little one, it was bubbles and sidewalk chalk. Now perhaps it's something different.
Yes,
Maybe,
all
maybe
of that is
not.
true. All of that
All
is
of that sounds fun too, though. So who
well,
knows,
I
right?
do have bubbles on my kitchen counter right now.
See, see, some things are just great, no matter what age or space,
Or
what age
whether or
or
not your
space.
kid even lives with you.
Exactly, exactly. Uh, Outside time for me is one of the most, if not probably the most grounding foundational space of that. I can tell when my eyeballs have not had enough sunlight in them for extended periods of time, when I'm not moved my body in it doesn't have to be anything big, but even just moving and breathing and circulating that fresh outside air, that stale inside space. So making sure that outside time is a deep priority of mine. And then for me, it's really having connections with people that I love, cutting
Mm,
out we'll go, right? I'll go and I'll go and I'll go and I'll go. And if I don't intentionally block time off of my schedule, it gets eaten up. And that's a great piece to butt up against until it's not. And when it's not, then it's not, and it's not quickly. And it's really hard to retroact that. So being intentional about, okay, take a look at your calendar and where are you putting in time that is really meant for deep connection
mhm,
with someone else. Those two spaces right now have been really serving to me. And time in silence, time to just not be, do, have any obligation to anybody else. And in that, really being mindful that I'm not filling that with things just so that time is filled with things.
mm. All of that is so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I know where you live. Is it okay to
Hmm.
say
Yeah.
that you live in the Twin Cities in
Hmm.
Minnesota? And so I love that you say getting outside is a practice. You didn't say getting outside in the summer is a practice. You said getting outside is a practice. How do you navigate the weather and getting outside?
Hmm. Well, I grew up in the Midwest, and I was a winter baby, and I have no idea if this correlates. I love winter. I love it. I love when you breathe in and everything in your insides freeze up a little bit. I love it. And thankfully, I have activities and pieces that I really like to do. I like to ski and snowshoe to have something for me to get outside. That being said, when it's feet of snow and it's been 20 to 30 below for days on end, no, that's not a fun or enjoyable place for me to do. But I know, okay, can we take in 5 minutes? Can there be just some amount of time knowing how important it is? So it's finding activities that I can do in different seasons. Um, the winter almost tends to be easier than November when it's kind of snowy, kind of rainy, gray, as you
Mhm,
know really well, but just
mhm,
these long periods of the gray tend to be a lot more challenging. And then it's 10 times more important for me to be outside. Those are the times when I really don't want to, that I probably need to more than ever.
Oh, that resonates. So I live in the Portland area, and gray and rainy
Mhm.
and muddy is 8 months of the year.
Yeah.
And so I learned that the right gear is essential. So like I have this really ugly pair of Keen hiking boots. And at the time I bought them, I was like, why does Keen make these so ugly? And then I realized they make them so ugly so that you can't see the amount of dirt and sand and mud that's on them. So you literally don't care. So you just walk through the muck and then you stomp it off when it dries off and then you go out again the next time. And so having a pair of shoes that you can use that are whatever you need in your area, whether it's waterproof or warm or whatever. And I even have rain pants. I didn't know rain pants was a thing until I moved to Portland, just like snow pants, but
Mhm.
rain pants are really helpful in that driving rain.
It's those things that we get to, those are the things we can think about and plan ahead of time.
Mhm.
So, as you named, when you had capacity, you could write the notes and put them in the fishbowl. We're not going into planning, prep, creation mode when we're depleted. So, when there is an uptick in energy, can we use that to better prepare our future self for the time when we're stretched thin, and making simple choices is a complicated space? Can it be laid out? Can it be simple? Can we take the guesswork and the thinking, the mental chatter out of it? So it is a non negotiable. At this time, it is the first thing I do in the morning, or it is the thing that I do at this time in this space. Go, right? Going
Mm.
in that.
I really love and appreciate that you brought that out that, you don't try to plan these things when you're depleted because you don't have any more capacity for
No.
decisions.
No. Then it does feel like a chore. Then it
Mhm.
does feel like the obnoxious, annoying thing of I have to go and do this versus
Mhm.
I'm actually really choosing to do this.
Yeah. Do you find that there's one time of the day that your energy is most rich?
Morning times are my time. I'm an early riser. Teen Megan would never have believed that, but as I have grown, I have become an early riser. I love mornings. They're quiet. Nobody's in the city. Nobody's moving around. It's I don't have to fight myself as much to not look at my phone, to have that. It's just I wake up, my time in the morning up until a certain hour is mine, and that is a non-negotiable that I hold so so firmly in, because I know the rest of the day gets swallowed up so quickly, whether
Mhm.
it's planned for or not planned for, or whether things come in. So to me, that is the time that I know gets to be mine. The rest just gets to be bonus if it gets to happen in different times and spaces.
I'm a morning person too. And
Mhm.
I didn't ever think I would be because in college I was sort of on the other end of the clock where I would, go to bed at 3 or 4 in the morning and then get up, later around noon. But I tell you what, 5:30 and I am wide awake, raring to go. And just like you, that's my time. I walk my dog, and so that's his time, but then it's my time.
Yeah. It's your mutual walking
It's our
time.
mutual walking time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it does serve us both. Did you have to figure that out, or was it something that just was innate? Did you just always like as soon as it shifted from Teen Megan, was it just kind of obvious that this is when I feel good and so I'm going to do this now, or was that something that you figured out?
Probably a little bit of both. I think in grad school and when the busyness of life came, it was just if you're going to get a workout in, if you're going to move your body, if you're going to have time for yourself, this is the time that you're going to do it. And then that just became the ritual, that became the structure for myself and what feels best for me. It all of my morning movement, my meditation, the breath, whatever I get to do in my morning space are truly things that I love, and they very quickly feel like a chore if they need to get done at a different time, and I feel like I'm fighting for time and space for them.
Mm,
And
mhm.
so it's knowing that I get to do this and love and enjoy this, or I push it off and then dread it all day long. And I don't want to dread the things that I love because I genuinely love to do them. And I know that they give back to me and they make me feel so much better.
That's so wise. I love
It
that.
happens, right? It happens by default, and also then just in getting clear of, okay, this is how this is going to work, and this is the way that feels best for me. And a big part with my past and my history is also then, can we also not be rigid in that?
Mm,
Because that's a whole different spiral of a whole other past versions of self, but where that rigidity can come in, especially with movement, where it isn't something I like, it isn't even something that I'm dreading. It is just a fact that this is what you do and this is how you do it, regardless of what actually your body is asking for and needing in that space. And then that's
oh,
a whole different space.
I resonate with that where I have it in me to get really latched on to something that's working. And then to sort of not ever be curious around, is it still working? Is this still working in the best way possible? And so I've been trying to ask myself questions about all the things. Like, if I were going to do this, would I still choose it this way?
Which is such a powerful question to ask, because when it becomes, for me, when it becomes a ritual, when it becomes habitual in whatever way that it does, it is just autopilot sometimes. And so
Hmm.
to even be able to have those disruptors to say, whoa, let's come in and give a space to ask yourself. Or I was just traveling last week. And so my schedule wasn't dictated by me, my schedule wasn't mine. And a past version of myself would have just crumbled
Hmm.
under that. And there was a space of, I don't necessarily like this, and you're good for a couple days. You're okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you give yourself the time and space and grace to acknowledge the feeling that I don't like this and you're going to be okay for a couple days?
The letting both be there. Instead of it being binary, it's either I'm going to be okay. This is great. This is wonderful. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me, is kind of where that line of thinking can pull into.
Hmm.
Or I don't like this. I hate this. I'm not going to be okay. Anxiety is going to take over my system. It's acknowledging, hey, both of these can be truthful at the same time. And
Mm.
let yourself toggle back and forth between, I actually am certain I do not like this, and I'm okay in things that I don't like. You have the capacity to stand and to be with uncomfortable things. And that came with practicing in not necessarily that situation, but that came in other modalities with practicing being in uncomfortable spaces. So my
Mm.
nervous system could understand, it's one thing to say it and really my mind so badly wants to believe it or even knows that there's levels to truth to that. But unless my nervous system has had the experience to say, oh, that is truthful, you can be uncomfortable and you can be okay. It's not, my nervous system is going to override that space every single time.
Right. Yeah. And
It's
that
not willpower.
right. It's not willpower. In
Mhm.
fact, my fight instinct or flight instinct comes on really strong when I'm in a situation that I'm uncomfortable and I need to give myself, my body some support and some nurturing to check in and remind myself you're okay. Like you're okay. You cannot like this and you're still okay.
Mhm. Mhm. My identities are threatened in that space.
Mm.
And so it's, what does this mean about you? Or I'll get really rooted and stubborn in, but I am this person. I am an introvert. I am a whatever kind of identifier that I'm wearing. And then I just
Mhm.
root and root and root, and not in a healthy, supportive way that creates that rigidity. For me, it's almost not even a fight or a flight. It's almost that freeze space of just, we're just going to get so rigid here that nothing is going to move us. And really, that's coming from a freeze response, not
Mhm.
from I'm standing in truth and integrity space.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So for our listeners who are like, okay, I've heard of
What are you
fight, flight,
saying?
or freeze, but I don't really know what that means. Can we talk a little bit about that and unpack it?
Yeah, of course. So go ahead.
No,
Did you?
this is, we're in your wheelhouse now.
I have to answer this. All right. All
Well, we
right.
can chat about it, but
No kidding. So our nervous system has responses that it will bring forward for us. Our nervous system is working moment to moment, second by second, all the time to keep us safe and alive. And sometimes the ways that it operates to keep us safe and alive aren't necessarily maybe the most supportive or gentle or even clear pathways to get there, but they've been known to work in the past. And the system is going to default into what it has known in the past. It worked in the past to keep you safe. We're going to replicate it over and over and over again. And those responses come up in fight or flight. I'm either going to bring an intense energy forward, some aggression, or really charge into something, or flight, woof, this is too much, catch you later, I'm out of here,
Mhm.
or freeze. I'm just going to be possum here. I'm just here. Nothing's moving, nothing's settled. That will maybe show up in a way of people pleasing or even a fawning response. And all of which we all toggle between and we use in different ways. And they're there for a purpose. We just, a lot of times in the society that we live in now, or the way that we've been conditioned, they don't necessarily always show up in the most supportive ways. And when they show up in those ways that are maybe not the most supportive, we're not in a clear critical thinking space. So we don't have the capacity to just, whoa, pause, what's happening here? Okay, I'm starting to move into that flight. You're okay, as Brenda named. Okay, when it feels that way, I go into flight, and then it's that pause, speaking into the work that she's done in just some self-regulation, a way of connecting to your own nervous system to say, okay, let's just take a moment here. Can we look at what's happening? Can we feel what's happening instead of, boom, I have to react to what's happening right now?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that takes time and energy and dedication, truthfully, to being able to have that space for yourself.
Yeah, and practice too. And
Practice.
practice.
Yeah.
So when I was a teacher, a young teacher, like, in my first 10 years of teaching, I thought that we had the opportunity to choose our stress response. I really talked myself. In fact, I remember having conversations about which one would you choose? Like, do you choose flight? Do you choose fight? What do you choose? And then I realized several years ago, and then it was really clear to me in the somatic coaching and breathwork program, we don't choose our nervous system responses, which is important for us to remember in our relationships, because the people with whom we're in relationships are also not choosing their nervous system responses.
Yeah. And important for us to have that awareness, that understanding is really important, I believe, for us to then have grace and compassion for ourselves, and to really look at when language is coming at you, either from somebody else or from yourself, of what choice are you making here? What are you doing in that? Sometimes it's not always a choice.
Mhm.
Oftentimes it's not always just a choice, but it is still our responsibility, whether that's fair or not fair. I think sometimes it's a not fair thing, but it is still our responsibility to say, I see where this is constantly happening. Where can I play with the disruptor? Where can I get curious about understanding how and why that's showing up for me, and why that looks differently with my boss, and why that looks differently with my partner, and why this looks differently with my kids. We might have all sorts of different ways that we respond depending on who we're in that interaction with.
Yes, that is so good. So good. So before I ask you my last question, which I seriously cannot wait to talk about with you, how can people connect with you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, Instagram tends to be the best hub space. All my contact information is on Instagram. It's just my first and my last name. My website and everything is linked right to there. So it's a great space to come and jump in. Full transparency. Social media and I don't know. We're not gelling so much in this season.
Mm.
And I'm okay with that. It's a space of, I really want to show up there with pure energy, and that shows up in a good way. And when I force it, that's not how I want to show up in that space. but I still am on like everybody else. I'm still on there and checking. So come hang out, ask a question, check things out. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Megan, is there one thing that you feel like you've done or that you didn't do that led you to your yes-filled life?
Gosh. Ooh. To me, there was a experience that I had after my first breathwork session. And I had, before that time, I had put in a lot of energy, a lot of work, a lot of time in healing. And it just wasn't quite shaking out in the way that I knew deep down inside, but also thought that it could or should. And for so long, I would see other people operating in the world, and I would think, not from a space of judgment or of envy, but like, gosh, they're doing something different, and I don't. What is that? How are they accessing that? What is that for them? And I did my first breathwork session. It was terrible. I had a panic attack at the end, and I thought, well, this is for sure not the thing. I don't like this thing. And there was a voice that, for the first time in my life, was so steadily strong that said, do this thing. And the next day, I signed up for facilitation training. I didn't know why. I didn't like breath work. I didn't have the money or the means. Like, no, I was in a very deep, deep state of grief. No, none of that made an ounce of sense. But I think I needed to be at the space where I was just so heavy in my grief and emotions to say, I'm just going to listen to this voice because nothing else has panned out. So,
Mm.
whatever, let's just do this thing. And that in an instant shifted a trajectory for me that opened up so much. It was not easy. It did not feel good. It was not always fun or enjoyable. And it was the unlocking of what my body had stored for all of the years up until then that allowed me then to step into a space that feels, yes, that feels like I can
Mm.
say that and mean that, instead of just saying that and hoping that everybody else would believe that to be true.
Ooh, that is so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. I didn't like breath work at first either.
Really?
I'd tried breath work. I'd had a session with somebody in Florida, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's okay. I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't love it. And when when I met Sam in person at the beginning of the breathwork session, there was a buzz like, oh, I want to be a facilitator. I'm going to take the facilitator training. And I was like, I'm not. I
I like when we're so certain. Cute for you, but that's not my path.
Right. Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't need any more training. I don't need any more anything. And then I finished the session and I was like, and how do I sign up for this?
Where's that link?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
so good. Megan,
yeah.
thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you for your questions and your conversation. And thank you for letting me. I love anytime we get to hang out together.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Isn't Megan incredible? I just love her. One of my big takeaways that every single time I talk with Megan, that I'm just struck with how open and loving she is and how she really does foster that sense of you have your own unique experience and you have your own inner wisdom. I just love and appreciate that so much from her. You can connect with Megan on Instagram at Megan Sandve and on her website. And I put the links for both in the show notes. And don't forget about the Yes to Me Challenge, June 18, 19, and 21. This is a great opportunity for you to tune into your inner knowing and really unleash that part of you that's just been yearning to get out. You'll create the confidence that you've been looking for, finding the empowerment that you've been dreaming of, and really connect with some beautiful, beautiful humans. Register at brendawinkle.com/yes to me. Now, I promised you that I would give you an update about my adventures. So in the middle of June, I'm going to be traveling full time. And I'm so excited. This week, as I'm sitting here recording, I've got about a week to go left in my townhouse. I am fully immersed in the packing, the sorting, the sifting, the giving away, the selling of the things. And it's been really, really good. I have found myself feeling excited about the adventure, grateful for the opportunity. And then as I look through my things, I'm just reminded of how many people I love. And as I'm looking through my things, I'm reminded of the memories and the situations and the experiences that I've had with other people. And I'm just so, so grateful. And so, one of the things that I've been doing as I am navigating this challenge, it's a lot for my nervous system to be giving up like all of the things that I've known. Like, for example, a home. And so I've been really titrating. That means going in a slow way for my own nervous system so that I don't end up in a state of stress. And so that's requiring a lot of breath work, a lot of slowing down. Sometimes I'll take some deep breaths. And what I'm really focused on is what I want to see, what I want to experience, and gratitude or appreciation. And so I find myself multiple times a day looking around and feeling a deep sense of appreciation for everything that I'm getting ready to put into storage because, it's been with me for this long on the journey and I just am so grateful to have, the furniture to put into storage and the memories to put in storage and the pictures. And of course, I'm taking some of the pictures with me and my crystals and my oracle cards, they'll go with me. Bentley's going, of course. And all of his toys are getting ready to get packed up and different things like that. And I'm so excited for this. I know that there's something I'm supposed to learn or experience throughout this process. I'm also well aware that it is going to be an initiation of sorts and that there's going to be a lot of feelings that come up as I sort of swing from one trapeze bar to the next trapeze bar. In fact, my mentor, my healer, Raina, said that there's going to be a split second just like between the two trapeze bars where you're going to feel like you're hanging out in midair. And I feel that moment approaching. And I'm so here for it because I really deeply believe that there's something that I'm supposed to learn, do, or experience as part of this journey. And I'll tell you one of the big ahas that I've had just as I've been looking for situations, to live in, whether that's Airbnbs, VRBOs, house sitting gigs, all those things. I have learned that for me to feel safe, my nervous system does best when I can see the earth and the sky out of a window. If I can only see trees, I don't feel as safe. And it's been really interesting to learn that about myself. In fact, that was something I picked up this week. I was like, wow, this is true for me. So, as I am sort of getting to know myself even better through this journey, I invite you to get to know yourself even better. So, as we think about the elements being earth, water, air, or wind, and fire, as we think about those elements, which one do you feel most drawn to? For example, if you are going to go on a vacation, are you drawn towards a campfire? Like, is camping and a campfire really fill your soul? Or maybe it's being in the mountains, or maybe it's being close to a body of water, whether that's a river, a lake, an ocean. Or maybe you really love to see the open skies and you enjoy the wind on your face or the breezes in the trees. And maybe that's more like an air, or maybe it's even the heavens. You like looking up at the stars and feeling like you're connecting to the planets. So, invitation just to get curious about yourself. How do you find your resourcing? What element feels best for you? And how can you give that more to yourself? I'll talk more about this on the journey, but I wanted to give you that big aha. And next week on Monday, the movers come. So the movers are coming a week from the day that this podcast episode is being released. So the movers come on June 10th. I cannot wait. And I feel all the things. So if you have questions or advice, reach out to me. Either DM me on Instagram at Brenda Winkle, send me an email, brenda@brendawinkle.com. I'd love to hear from you because, you know, I just feel like there's some people who are living vicariously through me. And I feel like other people, a lot of other people, it turns out, have done something like this and they're cheering me on. In fact, I have had more people come and say, I've done this, or I know someone who's doing this. Let me connect you, than I could possibly believe. It's not as uncommon or unique as maybe I once thought. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And I'm definitely happy to receive any advice that you have. And I am so grateful for you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, you enjoyed hearing from Megan and learning about embodiment and breath work, would you please leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review? It means so much. It takes you about 30 seconds, but it's truly one of the most impactful things that you can do for the podcast because it helps get the podcast in front of other listeners. And I truly believe that we all deserve a yes filled life. That feeling of yes, yes, it's all happening the way that I deeply wanted. We all deserve that. And my mission is to help get you there. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your ratings and reviews. And if you loved this episode, could you share it with someone? Thank you so much for being here today. Bye for now. Until next time.